All right, we should be live. I brought back Pirate and Lucky Tim again. We had unfinished business after the last time. The way it ended, we couldn't leave it like that. Yeah. So UFC Seattle. What's up, guys? How do you guys feel about the card?
Good card.
Yeah, I think it's a good card too. I'm super excited to watch it.
Sweet.
I lean so many underdogs. I'm a little worried, but trust the process.
Okay, I'm just pulling up my typology right now so that I can get to the first fight. 1 second. Okay, first fight, we got Modestas Bukauskas taking on, how do we say that last name? Rafael Carquera?
Circada.
Okay.
Yeah, Circada, something like that.
So, I'll be quick here. I'll give my quick thoughts. For me, this is a dog or pass type of fight. Modestas Bukauskas in general is fighting on pretty thin margins. He's going to be sitting on the outside, pumping his jab, throwing his he's got good cardio. I mean, he can do his game for 15 minutes, but he's chinny, and he's not really pulling away from most of these guys. I actually kind of think maybe overs could be good as well, just because Modestas doesn't really assert himself as a finisher. He's not got the type of style that I would usually look for someone to finish at a high clip. So I kind of think Modestas is going to win a decision here. So maybe an over 1.5 goes the distance, some Modestas points. And if you wanted to play a money line, I would actually only go towards the Brazilian at plus 2xx. Tim, what do you think about this fight, bro?
It's a huge pass. I do agree with what you said though about the overs, because if Modestas is minus 300, then what are we doing with over 1.5? It's like Jake Matthews. And when Jake Matthews fights, bet over if you think he's gonna win or something like that. But yeah, it's just a huge pass. I didn't really see anything I liked in Rafael's games, even considered me betting on him. I get that Modestas is low volume or hard to separate and chinny and whatnot, but it's just I feel like Rafael just stands in the cage and doesn't do anything. Even on his tape that you can find on YouTube, I wasn't impressed with anything. So it's easy pass for me.
Makes sense.
But you're right though. It's probably never Modestas minus 300.
Yeah, it's just kind of just long term. I feel like it's hard to
long term
against guys in the UFC. Pirate, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah. I bet Rafael a bit early, like blind, just blind. I just thought the number was off. Modestas minus I think he got to minus 325. I was like, that's off. And I taped it and I thought maybe I'll go in for the overs, but I just think this guy, I don't know how good his chin is. He's getting rocked in all these fights, fighting very close. That Pauga fight was ridiculous. The last fight was even, I don't know, that seemed like 1-1 to me. Yeah, just Rafael money line. I think he can couch him. Nothing much to it.
It's so low data, this one. It really is such low data. He was pick him against Ebo, and it's funny. Someone pointed out, if you look at his UFC stats page, I think it's 1 strike landed per minute and absorbing 32. It's got a pretty hilarious UFC stats page. But I mean, he's huge. He's physical. He's from the same camp as Jilton and Almeida, if I remember correctly, and his body looks like it. You can kind of tell the different designer drugs these different camps are running, because a lot of their physiques look similar. You look at the Dricus du Plessis camp, all those guys have the exact same build. You look at the Jilton Almeida camp, they all have the same exact look in their abdomen. So I think, Sarkera, to me, he's going to be on some good stuff. He's a big physical guy, but I really don't know what I'm getting in terms of cardio, durability, skills in general. So it's kind of a lean into the variance.
What is Modestas good at though? I can't figure it out.
To me, his cardio is good. I think cardio, if you're using a gas like a Tyson Pedro or something like that, then he's got something for you, because he can kickbox for 15 minutes, stuff takedowns.
It's just basic to me. It's just nothing that sticks out on the page that he should be minus 300 against anyone. There's so many concerns with him. I think, how many surgeries has this guy had in the last couple of years too?
You're talking about Modestas with his knee getting completely obliterated by Yeah, no, and Lithuanian MMA in general has not been the greatest.
No.
But yeah, so what do you think about the total though? Do you guys in agreement with me that if if there's a side for the total, it's the over here.
Yeah,
because
you
if
can
it
see
goes
it
under,
playing
it's
out
probably Raphael.
kickboxing.
Right. Yeah, and if it goes under, I think there's a good chance that it's the dog. Honestly, I feel like it's.
Modestus not finishing anyone in round 1.
Yeah, he definitely tries hard. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Hasn't had great level of competition. Oh shoot, got some
I'm not bullish on it.
love. All right. Next one. What we got here? We got Nursultan Ruzaboyev versus Eric Mikonico. Am I getting that right?
Close enough.
Close
Yeah.
enough. Yeah. So I was taping this one a bit. Mikonico, I mean, he doesn't seem like the most durable guy ever. He's got, an interesting style. He kind of fights. He's almost telegraphing everything he does, the way he leans off to a side the entire way. It's an interesting style. But to me, just in general, blanket statement, I think you can kind of say that against someone who's borderlining UFC level, you don't really want massive Ruzaboyev chalk, in my opinion. And it's even hard for me in hindsight to handicap some of his fights. Like I think back to the Cedric Dumas fight. I mean, by all indications, he covered. He, blew him out of the water right away. But how does that fight look if it extends? I really don't know. He's an interesting guy. He's got a huge frame for the division, but he does some stuff I don't like. Like on the regional scene, he's laying on his back nonstop, playing guard, fishing for a Kimura. It's like it's hard for me to lay big chalk on a guy who's willing to lay on his back, playing the Kimura trap game. And then just as a striker, it's more his cardio than anything else. I just feel like later on in fights, he's consistently slowing down. So yeah, I guess it's dog or pass, although I'm definitely not too enthused to get behind an older, somewhat chinny guy. Clear B side as well. Pirate, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah. Same thing as like the last fight. I just don't know what Nursultan's game is at all. Like he just seems to keep like finding these finishes. And with as far as Eric, it's hard to get to this price. I'd want something a bit better. I don't actually hate his game at all. I think he has like good pressure, not the best defense, good boxing somewhat. He probably can top time him a bit, but nothing really shoots off the page for me. I was looking to bet his decision, but it's only like plus 550. So maybe if I can just get like a better number on the money line closer to the fight, or some Nursultan's team comes in, I'll probably put a little something on it. I just don't rate Nursultan highly at all.
You kind of thinking more decision? Is that what you said? You're thinking more on the points?
Yeah, Nursultan's pretty relatively durable. He's taken some good shots in his career, even against Buckley too. I don't see him finishing.
Cool. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said there. Tim, what do you think, bro?
I bet Eric. I forgot which price, but it's not significantly better than what's available now. I bet him because like Pirate said, I really don't like Nursultan's game at all. And I think that there's a huge percentage of the time that if Eric is going for takedowns, Nursultan's going to be on his back, accepting them playing, in his guard, looking for those arm bars that he's gotten, Kimuras and whatnot. I don't really rate Nursultan on the feet all that much. I know in the UFC he's got his 2 KOs, but both of them don't really mean much to me, considering that Dumas has got horrible ability to adjust mid-fight, and he continued to walk into the same uppercut and right hand over and over without any adjustments. And the Bruno Ferreira KO loss to me felt more of like Bruno's head bouncing off the canvas, less than it was like him actually being KO'd. And Bruno just seems like a kind of guy that's always off balance and just, pretty awkward and goofy in the cage. I feel like he's always turned around, and in all his fights, he just looks stupid doing a bunch of dumb stuff. And I like that Eric was in camp for a fight. Nursultan wasn't. I feel like Eric's probably better for middleweight. I like that he stays on the outside with his kicks and whatnot. He won't just run into right hands. I'm not going to count out Nursultan's ability to catch him with something, but outside of, spamming a right hand, I don't see Nursultan doing a lot to give himself a finish on the feet. Just outside of that, just hoping that it lands. I think Eric's experienced in the grappling too, so I'll feel fine if he goes to the ground. He's in Jared Kennedy's corner. He's a little bit older, and I think he's more composed over 3 rounds. Like Nursultan, in the Buckley fight, just as the fight goes on. I know it was short notice at welterweight for him, but just as the fight goes on, he just looks less and less composed and just gets more and more like wild. And I really don't rate the gym that Nurselton's at either. I don't think they're good for fighter improvement. He's already got like 40 fights, so I'm not expecting him to show up any better. I feel like he's a finished product for what he is. He's 31, and that gym, Marquez MMA, a lot of the, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the Philly guys were from that gym, right? Like Pat Sabatini, Petrosky, and they're all the same guy. They don't ever improve. I know that they've separated and has gone to their gym. Everyone has gotten a little bit better except for Jeremiah Wells. But yeah, so I thought it was a pretty easy fight, Eric, considering that if he gets a takedown, he can just lay in his guard and all that other stuff. And yeah, I'm not a big Rizibov guy over at chalk. I almost bet Dumas. I was really close. But
to your
something
point, that was such a weird knockout, the Ferreira one. It was like a hot kick, and then he bounced his head off the canvas.
Yeah. And that's because Ferreira's just like that. And Dumas got poked in the eye and tried to call his own timeout, and Nurselton just ignored it. And that was the same card that had the worst stoppages of the year with Chris Weidman eye poke thing. Bill Algeo got stopped relatively early. I guess I don't know if it was entirely early. Ibo Aslan stopped what's his face? The Pleasure Man, the best fighter ever. He stopped him relatively early. Like he got dropped and he was like crawling forward to like play in his guard, and the ref stopped it. So, you know, they just added on to the theme of like awkward stoppages and whatnot. So I think it's pretty easy dog or pass Eric. If he gets caught by a right hand and dies, then so be it. I'll live. But that's the thing that I like about it.
Like this is a fight where like I really don't know exactly how it's gonna look. And I say this all the time, but when there's a fight where I just can't really get a consistent image in my head of how it's gonna play out, I'm never wanting to lay minus 3xx in those type of fights because that just screams volatility to me. Yeah, this guy definitely willing to play off of his back, that's for sure.
It's a lot easier for me to imagine Eric putting together a clean 15 than it would be for me Nurselton coming out. Obviously, he can catch him at any
and with
point
no camp too.
That's a given. But yeah, like how much can you trust this guy? Like realistically, how much can you trust this guy?
Pepe pointing out that Pfeiffer and Brady are pretty good guys, but I get what you're saying though about how that they kind of all seem like they haven't really changed their games too much in the UFC.
Yeah, I don't think it's a horrible gym, and I'm not saying they're horrible fighters, but it's just they're not rapid improving fighters. Like they're relatively the same people that they were. I mean, Pfeiffer's still, you know, to be determined considering he's coming off his first UFC loss and whatnot, but they showed up. They're grapplers with good control, and they're pretty relatively bad strikers. I think
100%.
Like
I could double like him easily. Are those are the Philly boys, right?
Yes.
They kind of like disbanded a bit.
I swear Pepe was hating on the Philly boys not long ago.
Well, I believe Pfeiffer and Brady are better than they were 5 years ago.
All right. Austin Vanderford versus Nikolai Veretennikov. Tim, you can lead us off here.
I'm passing. I don't have a good read on it. Much like, I mean, it's been discussed a lot this week, but the stuff with Nikolai pulling out for his fight last week and taking this one makes no sense to me at all. I see that he made weight, but there's not a lot of footage that makes me want to play Nikolai ever. I think he's just kind of an exister that doesn't do shit, and he doesn't go after fights when he can and whatnot. He's horrible off his back, and Vanderford's last losses were like horrible looking, but he seems enthusiastic enough to take this opportunity serious. But that's not really enough to get me to want to bet him or anything. So it's a pass for me right now. There's just too much unknown stuff. But that's all I got. Pirate.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, definitely a lot of unknowns here in this fight. But Pirate, do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the under. I just want a bit better of a price, and I just think that Vanderford is probably the most elite guy Veretennikov has faced as far as BJJ. I liked what I saw from him on the ground, not as far as entries, just grappling wise. I actually was very surprised. And then Veretennikov, I feel like he can just maybe catch him, but he looks like a complete fish on the ground from what I've seen. And Vanderford, he's getting rocked around by like 39-year-olds. It just seems like an unders fight to me. Could be a bit tilting, but I'm aiming to get. Yeah, it's plus money now. I'd play the under right now. I don't know. I see a lot of people talking about like a lay and pray. Like I just don't know how far you can trust that for Vanderford to come in, lay and pray for 15. Like I feel like if he's consistently getting him to the ground, like he's gonna find a sub or something like that, you know?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, when I first saw this fight, I had good memories in my head about Veretennikov against Danny Barlow because I think I had Barlow rated maybe a bit higher than the next guy going into those fights. Um, and yeah, he's a big physical dude, but when he does get taken down, I don't like what I see at all. Like we'll talk about it with some other guys on the card that have really great get up games. This guy to me does not have a great get up game. He's willing to lay on his back, play guard, not even play guard and like threaten to elevate with butterfly hooks or threaten submissions or even play a Kimura trap game like Ruzaboyev. He's literally just going to maybe close his guard, try and break posture and survive. And until he sees a moment to get up, ref stand up, something like that. So I feel like whoever wins this fight, in my opinion, is probably going to cover in a big way. Maybe it plays out pick'em, but I don't really see it that way. I think it'll be either Vanderford's able to get his grappling going and he's going to, start to have Veretennikov get real tired underneath him and either lay and pray to a dominant decision or maybe like a late submission type of deal. But then again, if he doesn't get takedowns, I kind of think Veretennikov works him, and he's big, sturdy dude. I think his wrestling seems fine, from like the Michael Morales fight, a few others. It doesn't seem like he's got bad wrestling. It's just the urgency to get up isn't there at all. And to me, that's a big thing I'm looking for in these striker versus grappler type of matchups. So if I'm forced to take a play here, I'm personally going with Vanderford. Again, his game isn't really super well put together, and I don't know exactly where he's at in terms of where he's at physically taking this fight right now, which is enough to keep me away. Also, given that I think the striking, I pretty clearly favor Veretennikov. But yeah, I tend to think he's going to be able to get on top at least a couple times. And once he does get on top, I think he's going to stay there. So, all right. Next one, Ricky Simón versus Javid Basharat. I actually made a bet on this fight here today, a number of hours ago. I bet on Javid Basharat, the minus 210, 220 range. And I just finished talking about get up games and what I didn't like to see. But Javid Basharat to me is a perfect example of what I do like to see in terms of somebody going against a grappler. He's never sitting on his back, being complacent, especially when someone's not a threat to take his back and throw in hooks. I don't really view Ricky Simón as having a great jiu-jitsu game. I think he's willing to turn, give his back up, fight the hands, grab an underhook, grab a whizzer, and with urgency, get off the fence and then continue to push the pace. So to me, he's got pretty much every advantage outside of power is what I would say. So I'm actually not really too worried about the wrestling of Ricky Simón, which is where I think I'm different than the market here. I think the market's giving Ricky Simón a decent amount of wrestling upside, and I'm not. I think pushing a hard wrestling pace would actually be bad for him here, and he might end up gassing himself out and ending up on bottom by round 3. I'm actually more concerned about a couple of things I see in the striking in terms of Basharat stands super sideways, and anybody who's tried to go after his calf has had some level of success. Like I think back to Tony Gravely, I think back to Mendonça. These guys all kicked his calf and, were able to get some reactions out of him. But, he's at American Top Team, obviously great calf kicking camp. I really trust Mike Brown in terms of putting together a game plan for somebody as linear and basic as Ricky Simón. So yeah, I think Ricky's going to try and get to, but I think Ricky's best path actually is landing a few big shots here and there with his hands to try and steal moments, pumping the calf kick whenever Basharat goes orthodox. But I expect Basharat to actually fight the majority of this fight from southpaw. I think that left body kick is going to be money. The teeps are going to be money. His jabs are going to be there. And once he's able to get up a couple times, I think we're going to start to see the momentum really shift, and then the live odds start to really swing towards Basharat. So to me, I'm pretty comfortable saying that he's 70% here. So something better than that, I'm fine with. And I even think he's got potential to look greater than that. Because if you tell me I'm going to negate the Ricky Simone wrestling and I'm going to get a striking fight here, it's hard for me to say he's not closer to 75, 80% in that type of fight. So especially if Ricky's pushing a wrestling pace and getting tired. So yeah, I'm thinking Basharat wins the decision here where he's able to pull away and make rounds 2 and 3 look real clear. Pirate, do you have any thoughts on this fight?
Man, I don't want to just go and repeat the same thing, but I fully agree. I was looking at this today because I was looking to bet Ricky Simone earlier on in the week, but I fully think that he would need to change up his style to win the fight here and just go strike. Basharat uses the cage so well and just maneuvers around it, and his IQ is a lot higher than I gave him credit for, and yeah, like you said, implementing leg kicks, all this stuff. Ricky either needs to get him in an open space, which he like never is. He like almost never takes the center. He's like he goes back along the cage because he knows that if someone shoots on him, he knows what to do. Yeah, I don't really have a play here or anything. I think the line's probably accurate, but yeah, I agree.
Sweet. Tim, what about you, bro?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I agree. I agree with Pirate. Earlier in the week, I was like, maybe Ricky could start trying again, and then I'd play him. But it's been 15 rounds since he's channeled the Ricky that fought, like, I don't know, Ronnie Yaya or something. So I'm not really big on Ricky, and I've been betting against him for like 2 years now. So I'm not going to start betting on him. So yeah, it's just, I don't have anything. It's a pass for me. And I agree with Pepe in the chat. I know it's an MMA fight and anything can happen, but I think you're relatively safe with playing Javid points instead of
yeah. It's
Ricky.
like playing Taylor Lapilus decision.
Yeah, unless some.
It's good,
but it's an MMA fight, so I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, nothing new to add.
Do we think it's probably late if he does get to him? It'd be like a round 3 type of deal, more likely than round 1.
Ricky?
No. Let's say Basharat finishes Ricky. Would we agree that there's probably more likely something in round 3 than round 1?
Yeah. I don't think it happens.
Would it be KO or sub? Round 3 sub, Javid?
I would kind of see it as like a step in knee if he was gonna get him out of there. I think it's probably 75% or more of his win equity is decision here. So yeah. I mean, when I do my math, I feel like there's probably not a lot of meat on the decision, but it might be plus EV, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm definitely predicting it to hit.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I don't think he's capable of finishing.
All right, this one. Mansour Abdul Malik versus Nick Klein. Tim, do you have a dog shot on this one?
No, I don't have anything like, wild to predict. I do feel like at some point in Mansour's career, there's going to be like a cardio failure loss coming his way, but I don't think Nick Klein's got enough of offensive or defensive tools to prevent getting finished before Mansour completely gasses out, unless he's got some unreal durability that's been improved since his last loss or anything like that. So it's just a pass for me. I didn't bet any of the round props or nothing like that.
Pirate, what do you think?
Yeah, maybe an under. Both of these guys, good finishers. I would be worried about Mansour just extending late, and I'll be looking at the live bet, but like even then, I don't rate like Nick Klein as like a high like cardio guy, comeback guy. Like his path seems pretty clear to me. Round 1 sub or bust, but man, it's not far off where I see like Mansour late past 1.5 rounds. Like he's cooked. He's cooked after that. So yeah, maybe under 1.5.
What do you guys think about this? Is there any world where Klein has 5 minutes of survivability in him?
There could be, yeah, there's that. And there also could be a world where like Mansour is young enough in his career and developing, and he just does that thing where people are like, oh, I wanted to take more time and get more cage time. I didn't want to rush for the finish. And then round 2 happens. Like, what's his face just did it after gassing out against C-Rod, Isaac Bulgarian. There's that one fight where Johnny Walker didn't finish Anthony Smith because he said he wanted to go to decision. So, I mean, it's like a dart throw, but it's something that's happened before. And he's young enough in his career to like, he doesn't need to come in and destroy this guy in one round. He could just fight.
Right. Yeah, I don't have anything special to say here. I think the even if he's not looking for the finish, I think it's just going to materialize early. Just the nature of how he fights. So yeah, I'm
His
with
ground and pound is insane.
Antonio.
Yeah. What's that price?
Wasn't it like plus 120 or something like that? Last I saw.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. We got Andre Touchy-Feely versus Melchisael Costa. Pirate, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a bit of Milk money line early. I like a lot of what I see from him, other than the shy fight. But just a lot of tools. Not the best boxing, but he's great at keeping distance. He's great at with his kicks, with setting up to the body, then going to the head. And more of anything, it's more of a fade on Feely. I think he's regressing, and it's quite weird because not too long ago he looked really good in his fights, and I liked getting behind him just because like he was a guy that just did everything right. You know what I mean? But just even in that last Cub fight, I didn't like that. I still watched it back. I had like a small bet on Cub Live, and I was a bit tilted, but yeah, I think I think Melk can catch him at one point in this fight. I think the head kick is actually live. Sounds a bit crazy, and the only thing I'd worry about is Fuey's wrestling, but he doesn't like implement it much. But like when he did against Algio in round 3. It was really nice. Like he shot for his leg, cut the corner, took him down right away. Like if he can do that, so what? So be it. I'll my bet loses, whatever. But I don't see that. He's content to stay on the feet, and I just think Melk is going to be one step ahead of him.
Nice. Tim, what are you thinking about this one?
I bet Costa too, and I agree with a lot of what Pirate said. But yeah, and I also agree that it's more of a kind of a fade with Philly. I understand how it could be close, but I don't think that you can even line Andre Philly a big favorite in any fight going forward. Like it feels like his ceiling is like minus 140, and then anything after that, the underdog's just going to take massive action unless he's fighting like a real bum. And I don't think that Philly's got any like significant skills that he carries over 3 rounds that give him a huge edge in any fight. He hasn't won a unanimous decision in years. That KO over Lucas Almeida blew my mind. I couldn't believe that happened. Considering how Lucas Almeida fights and whatnot, I remember like Lucas Almeida finish only was such a big like prop amongst the community, and the Phillies knocks him out. I had like a little bit of money on Lucas Almeida most significant strikes, and I haven't checked it, but before that fight happened, Philly hadn't outstruck anyone, and until he fought Lucas Almeida, he's been.
It's so funny you mentioned that prop because I was literally on that scorecards no action Lucas Almeida, and within 20 seconds I realized I was completely dead. I was like, okay, he's moving so slow, and
He must
10 times faster,
bro. He showed up. He looked like he got stabbed before the fight started. I'm gonna double check. Is that the only? Did Cub outstrike him? He did outstrike Cub. So outside of Cub Swanson by 5 strikes and Lucas Almeida by 10, he hasn't outstruck someone since the Daniel Pineda fight. I just think it's going to be close. Like he doesn't do anything significant over 3 rounds. Like he could shoot takedowns and wrestle. Costa's a little bit hittable when he gets in like boxing range, but he's going to use his kicks for the most part to keep him on the outside. So I like Costa, and he's a little bit younger and improving. And his 2 losses are kind of like in unfortunate circumstances. He took a short notice debut against Moises, who had a little bit of wrestling success against Islam, by the way. And then he took him down and choked him. And his approach to the Steve Garcia fight, I didn't anticipate. I backed him in the Steve Garcia fight before the original one got canceled. Steve did not weigh in, said, can we fight next week up a weight class after Costa weighed in? And he said, yeah. And then he brings a very high offensive wrestling game where I thought he could have had a lot of success on the outside, just striking Steve because his horrible defense and whatnot. But I guess if you watch Steve tape, it looks like that's the path of least resistance. And the Shiloh fight wasn't, the greatest, but I mean, Shiloh shoots takedowns and versed him, held him up. Fuck right. Andre Feely.
I mean, I like some things about Costa's game. He's got that nice southpaw body kick. He works it in nicely with the head kick, like Pirate mentioned. For me, I'm not touching it because a big part of my process is evaluating where these guys are athletically in their careers, and I don't really know where Feely is. I'm not sure if just his chin is completely dust at this point. That's kind of what it tells me. It kind of looks like a guy who's taken too many shots in the gym, and he just can't really take those big shots anymore that matter in a fight. But I kind of think his game is more well put together than Costa. Like I like he really got some nice reactive double legs that he can really mix up his martial arts. And at one point in time, I actually thought Feely might have been like a top 15 talent a number of years back, but he hasn't really ever materialized and gotten to the point where I thought he would get to. But yeah, for me, this fight's a pass. But I definitely can't disagree with any of the stuff you guys are saying. So we got a community bet there. Ibo Aslan versus Kudalaba. I'll be quick. Like, to me, I could only play Ibo Aslan. I'm a Kudalaba hater, notoriously. I just can't stand this guy's game. It's closing your eyes, looking at the ground, winging overhands. It's pretending to be knocked out against Ankalaev to try and bait him into more overhands. It's grappling at a pace that he knows he can't keep, and he's not changing. He's the same guy that he's been since he fought Glover Teixeira, whenever that was, like 2015 or something crazy.
2019.
Okay. Yeah, he hasn't gotten better to me. To me, he's the same exact guy in all these fights. And man, with Ibo, it's like I have to believe his cardio is better than Kudalaba, just because pretty much anybody's cardio is better than Kudalaba by default. Worth noting, he's got maybe the most impressive gyno on the UFC roster right now. Like, he's over there at Bang Tao Muay Thai, or I don't know if he's at Bang Tao or Tiger. I think he's at Bang Tao, actually. And man, they've got him on some good stuff over there. He's completely disregarding any like post-cycle therapy, it seems, and his hormones are just a complete disaster. But man, his physical performances have been a hell of a lot better since he went over into Thailand. The thing I can't erase from the back of my mind is the fight with the Pleasure Man, the first one, where he completely death gassed at a grappling pace and really quit. So like, that's kind of hard to get out of the back of my head. So could I see maybe him getting put in a tough spot here, getting mat returned a few times and then getting pounded by Kudalaba? I guess so. But I think the big favorite upside to me is all with Kudalaba just being a level below somebody like Ibo, getting his takedown stuffed. When he does get a takedown, Ibo stands up and knocks him out. So if I'm playing the fight, I'm only playing Ibo. Tim, what do you think about it?
Nah, I agree. I don't have any money on this, and I probably won't. But if I'm betting anything, it's Ibo. I think people are a little hard on him for a loss that happened 5 years ago. Because his first loss, he gassed out, he got choked out, and I understand, but that tape from 5 years ago is not enough to convince me to bet Ion Kudalaba at something that's like not paying plus 300. He's an idiot, and I would be more upset if I bet on Ion and lost more than I would be happy if I bet on Ion and won. Like, I would be furious with myself. Like, what am I doing? So I'm passing. It's a little square, but it's part of preserving your mental health, which is important for betting. And Ion Kudalaba is someone that is going to do negative damage to my brain. I don't care if there's value.
Tim, you mentioned one time you described it as like, I don't have enough mental bankroll or enough mental units to bet this fight.
Mental currency is a real thing. People should use it more. Am I going to be mad if this happens? If the answer is yes, then don't do it. The money's not worth it. If you're tilted, you start making bad decisions. And having money on Ion Kudalaba app. What is the line right now? I don't have that online open.
Last I saw was like plus 150. I'm looking right
now.
Bro,
having money on Ion Kudalaba at plus 150 is not worth what is going to happen to me after he loses in round 2 from gassing himself out like an idiot. It's not worth it. I don't care. So I'm passing. It's square, but
yeah.
What's that?
Tilt equity for sure. It's a real thing.
I don't care. This is Ion's one of those guys. Dustin Jacoby is another one for me. I don't bet Dustin Jacoby fights. I get him wrong. Kudalaba bets are fake sharp. Bro, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. Alonzo Minute, I'm gonna get ahead.
Tim is all of
pass,
us, man.
Pass. I'm passing.
Pirate,
Ibo or pass.
What do you got, Pirate?
Yeah, I was looking at that line earlier on in the week, and I had like minus 130 in my face, and I was taping it, and I was like, I just can't do it with this Ebo guy. I just don't like anything I see, regardless of that fight 5 years ago, or even in his wins. The guy is not responsible at all. He's not a guy that can, not a guy that will cover these tags. You know, like he's gonna go in there and he's gonna burst. He's just an ape. And like you can say like you never want to get behind Kutalaba. It's just like there. If I was to get behind his side, it would have to be Kutalaba because there's just a lot more data on him. And but he's just a fighter I can't cap right. So I'm gonna say this, and then Ebo's gonna spark him in 5 seconds. I just can't get this guy's fights right, and I haven't even looked at any of the props or anything like that. But yeah, I don't like either of these guys at all, and I would never bet either of these guys at any price of minus money.
That's hard. That's hard to argue. I mean, these guys are both like they scream volatility. It's like
What happens if Ion gets on top? If the guy quit once like that, like I don't rate his top game or anything like that. But there's just not enough data for me to go and like, oh yeah, like Ebo's gonna be able to reverse him or get up or have the instincts to get up or instincts to go to the cage. Like I don't see this.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where like it's kind of like what Tim said about it was 5 years ago, and you kind of just have to project out some level of improvement, you know. And I've been waiting to see it rear its ugly head again, and it really does seem like he's different. And then, I mean, for some people they might think it's a joke, but if you see a guy come out with gyno like that, I mean it. You know for a fact, like you've got some heavy pharmaceutical tampering going on with him, and like I no doubt his whole biochemistry is different than it was 5 years ago. He spent 5 years at Bang Tao. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like it's tough to put stock in. But I completely hear what you're saying. Like, would I be shocked if he ends up on bottom and looks like a beached whale? Like, no, I'd be dumb to be shocked.
I can't pay like that. I wouldn't even, like I said, I wouldn't even bet minus one. Yeah, you could say that he has grappling upside, but will he use it? No. He's an idiot, that guy. And it's like with Ebo, sorry. It's like there's just you quit. First of all, you quit once, you could quit again. Obviously, he's juiced up now and everything. But like, what do we have of him in the UFC against Pleasure Men? That fight was pretty competitive, back and forth. You know, both guys. And then what was it? Bum rushing Rafael Sequeira. Like, there's just nothing that like.
Round 3 finish against the same guy that made him.
Yeah,
pass.
You know what? That's a bit bad. That's like the only thing I can say where it's like there is clearly he's a young guy showing improvements throughout his career, but like there's just no money line that I could get to him at minus money here.
The Pleasure Man was competitive with Petrino.
That's facts. That's facts. The Pleasure Man is the GOAT. We have to keep that in mind. All right.
Petrino's a fraud too. Petrino's a fraud.
Now he's learning.
Yeah.
All right. Another potential car accident fight right here. Alonzo Menefield versus Julius Walker. I said it was going to be quick last time, but I was kind of long. I will be quick this time. I watched a little bit of Julius Walker tape going into the tape, thinking I wanted to bet him, at a worse price than it is now. I just came away. I can't remember the guy's name. One guy he fought that was. Let me look right now. The one guy he fought that had a halfway decent record.
Niall Bartling.
Niall Bartling, and I didn't love what I saw from him in that fight in terms of being able to get his grappling going against a guy who's not super big or physical. He showed some slick skills, like being able to grab a triangle choke like that, roll for it. He's clearly an athletic guy, and you don't really see big athletic guys that take up fighting too often. And whenever that does happen, you got to give him a second look. But I wasn't too interested here. This is clearly going to be the best guy he's ever fought, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to get that double leg against the fence off against someone like Menefield. And I could see Menefield kind of fraud checking this guy, giving him the welcome to the UFC lesson, getting on top of him, landing elbows. So yeah, for me, this is a pretty easy pass, but I could understand how someone wants to play into some volatility, play Julius Walker. He looked huge at the face-offs. Menefield doesn't look like at all the same guy physically he was a few years ago. And clearly this guy's got some upside in a few different spots in the fight. So Pirate, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Alonzo's going to stiff him cold. I didn't like what I saw. I can't remember if it was the Bartling fight, but it was a fight. It was very early. He shot and then he missed. He missed his shot, went right back up. He got rocked right away, and he did a little bit of a stanky leg. I will say I was hating on him big, but you know what? For a guy that big, grappling's not that bad. His offensive wrestling is not the best. Like getting the fight to the ground is not the best, and his top control is not the best. But when he gets on certain positions, like I liked what I saw from the guy. But yeah, I just think that Alonso's just gonna catch him at one point, and he's just ahead of him. Like it could just be a levels fight, and I was tempted on the under, but I would have bet Alonso at like I think there was like minus 150, minus 160, minus 180. I would have bet that, to be honest.
Nice. Tim, what are you thinking here?
Something is possessing me to play GTD and over, and I can't really put it into words.
You're a sick man, Tim.
I don't think I am, but like I just think with the way that Walker is going to push the grappling, I just think it's going to slow the fight down. Alonso's coming off those 2 KO losses where he fought like a clown. I think that'll slow the fight down. I think he does have more decision equity than people give him because he lands big shots and he's such a big powerhouse that people don't want to run straight into him, and that could slow the fight down. And he went to decision and against chinnier guys before, and the people that he's finished are either incredibly chinny and like the William Knight decision loss and the Devin Clark decision loss, and he finished Oscar Mazarov. That guy didn't belong in the UFC, and Misha Serkinov was way too chinny. I don't know how to put it into words, but something is telling me donate to goes the distance and overs. I don't think I'm going to bet. It's one of those bets I make with my friends when I'm watching the fights at home. I have my friends come over every Saturday. We make a bunch of not stupid bets, but we make a bunch of what I believe are plus EV props that it's like a separate bankroll, like the fun hang out with your friends bankroll and whatnot. And I think that if I'm winning before this fight starts, I'm probably going to have something stupid on goes a distance. It's just
an elite sweat bet. Those are the best sweats.
They are fun too. Like, oh, Julius Walker's so tired. I'm scared. Like it's gonna happen, but I don't know. It's probably irresponsible to say on your platform because it's not something that I can back with words or plus EV analytics and stats and market history and all that kind of stuff that makes gambling good. I just feel it.
No, stats are for losers.
Huh?
Stats are for losers, I said.
Word.
I was just fucking around.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I got to say about Menefield is early on in his career, he would just come out like a bull in a china shop, go absolutely insane, try to knock you out in the first round, and then figure it out from there. Like I think back to the Devin Clark fight, which to me, this is one where if Julius is going to have success, like he's got to be looking at something like the Devin Clark fight and be like, okay, I can probably emulate something similar to what he was able to get done here. Just in terms of tiring him out with the cage pushing, landing a few takedowns, exposing the fact that Alonso slows down. But later on in his career, as he's matured, it seems like he's a lot more likely to sit behind a calf kick, try and use his wrestling defensively, go into short bursts. He just knows he can't really sprint for 15 minutes. Like, who was it? Ed Herman, where he just sat behind a calf kick the whole time. So I think he's probably going to try and do that here, trying to be smart. Although I think if he would go crazy, it would actually be the best chance for Julius to win. But yeah, I'm really not sure. This is an interesting point. Alonso was prepping for Umar Sy, which I think is a pretty good person to be prepping for to get ready for what Julius is going to try and do.
To go back to that about the prepping thing, Nikolai was prepping for Billy Goff. I was going to mention that, but he's getting a completely different stylistic matchup.
That's not that far off. Just Billy Goff with grappling.
Yeah, Billy Goff grappling is...
No, Billy Goff with grappling.
Yeah,
those guys on the feet are not far off from each other.
Yeah,
like,
but I don't want to go back and waste time. So,
yeah,
but it's something I want to mention at first.
No, for sure.
Alonso's also at that. He left pedophile Barry, right?
I don't know. I know he was training with. That was a weird move at one point when he left his camp to go train just under Pat Barry. Like that was strange.
I seen a tweet saying that he's back in Fortis MMA.
Alonso did hit that. He hit that Von Flu against the Water Buffalo, right?
And a guillotine against that the other dude. I can't Crute. So he had a crucifix against Mutt. Hold on.
Is that in the rematch? Yeah.
Hold on. Alonso sub parlayed with.
Yeah, exactly. We just need Tim's vibes. That's all we need to get our winners here.
It is a vibe I'm having. It's probably not something I wouldn't recommend putting a bunch of money on.
He is an athlete. Julius is obviously an athlete that just learned some grappling.
I mean, to me, college basketball is a great base for MMA. And a bunch of guys.
I just mentioned something like that. Like if the heavyweight division didn't exist, there would be if the NBA didn't exist, there would be so many more good light heavyweights and heavyweights. And Julius Walker heard me and was like, "I'll take this fight." To show
they all
Tim
got
that
like an 80-something inch reach, and they're all athletic with great footwork. So it makes sense. I think about someone like Danny Barlow or Christian Leroy Duncan, all like high-level basketball players. It's happened a lot, actually.
Jamal Hill broke his ankle playing basketball. Or his Achilles heel.
All right. 1 second. I lost my place on my topology. All right, here we go. Gene Silva versus Melsick. I feel like Pirate's been on the Gene Silva bandwagon before just about anybody else. So what do you think about this fight, Pirate?
Absolutely. I've been on this Gene Silva bandwagon for sure. Yeah, I think he's a special guy. I love everything I see from him, including what he does in the cage, out of the cage. He's a funny, very funny guy. This fight, I can't get behind the chalk just in a parlay piece or anything. Like as far just money line, I just think Melsick is on the feet. He's so clean, but there's just such a gap. Like, not that there's much data on it, but Jean can grapple and he can wrestle here, and I don't imagine that he won't if he's getting touched up on the feet. Like a lot of people don't give him credit, but the guy, that gym and him specifically, he has really good IQ. Like he knows what he's doing in the cage. He controls distance very well. I was just gonna take like a long, like a prop on him, maybe like a submission prop on him, just because Melsick's a white belt. But yeah, that's about it. I just the chalk is just too much for me, just because I feel like you could get a better live bet on John early in the fight. If he's not going to grapple right away, but maybe if he doesn't realize that much success on the feet, he definitely will.
Tim, what are you thinking?
I think that I'm gonna be donating to the Melsick Foundation this fight. I was a little more bullish on Melsick before I looked into all his injuries and whatnot, so I lowered my stake. I'm probably gonna only put like a quarter of a unit on Melsick's available line before the fight starts, letting for the parlays and whatnot to come in. Because I feel like if Melsick was not so injury ridden, he would still have a disadvantage in the grappling and whatnot, and just overall process. I think John Silva is going to be more on the front foot and a lot more physical than Melsick, and just in general, he could catch the kicks and push him over and get into grappling exchanges and stuff like that from there, or just be overall competitive on the feet. But I feel like I have to put a little bit on Melsick here. He hasn't even been relatively close to losing a striking match against anyone in the UFC. He struggled a little bit against the karate dude Bruno Souza because he just had that insanely low volume, unpredictable style, and he even mixed in takedown attempts on his own. The Coulibaly loss, he just slipped into the choke, which is a bad look for sure, but it's something that I think John Silva could have success with, which is why I still would line John the favorite. But if this stays striking, I think Melsick is way harder to, like, he's so hard to hit. His body kicks, his head kicks, like, betting on fighters who have access to head kicks is probably plus EV over the history of the sport, because they just pull that shit out anywhere and then it works. It doesn't matter if they're winning, losing. Head kicks win fights. And I think one thing that's like leaning me towards I think it's too much fanfare. I really hate Charles Jourdain and Drew Dober. So the fact that these are the two guys that got John Silva to be minus 600 is probably leaning me more to the Melsick side.
What about Kevin?
What about Kevin? Kevin Vallejos?
Kevin Vallejos would whoop Jourdain's ass right now.
Yeah. Jourdain's trash.
Yeah, I agree. He gets too much respect from the market every time he fights. My bad.
So that's no, it's fine. It's fine. But like, the wins over Jourdain were you're near even. And I know that he took, an uphill battle by fighting a week after he had fought up a weight class against Judober. But these guys are punching bags to me. And Jourdain went down the middleweight. Like, Melsik is not easy to hit. He's easy to get tired with grappling, but he's not easy to hit, and those body kicks are real. So I'm going to put a little bit on Melsik. I'm fully aware of what I'm getting into, considering that he's been injured for a big part of his career and whatnot. But I just like John's hittable too. Like he's not the fighting nerds IQ. I'm saying it's overrated. What was Bruno Brazil's fighting nerds IQ? And everyone was betting on Myra Bueno Silva. Oh, fighting nerds now. And what's his face?
Dude, those are women.
No. Wait. I'm about to say the guy right now. What's his name? And respect women. The dude that sub Costa? I can't remember it. I just talked about it. Thiago Moises was at Fighting Nerds when he was with Trey Ogden. Where was his Fighting Nerds IQ? You know how easy it would have been for him to take Trey Ogden down the whole fight? He just said, fuck it. I'm a calf kicker now. That's the Fighting Nerds IQ. So I'm not expecting John Silva to come through with offensive wrestling game plan. Although I think it would work. So I do think John Silva is the rightful favorite because he's a lot more physical and he's got the forward momentum and all the grappling. But Melsik's a good striker. I think it's going to be a striking match.
This is kind of where my head goes. To me, seeing Gene Silva inside the distance is like minus 185 or something like that. Something completely disgusting. If there's any sort of value in the fight, I think the market's skewed a bit far towards John Silva getting a finish here. I think Melsik is pretty negative. Like I was on a goes the distance against Kulabau when he got choked out cold too. So I understand that like his ground game is a bit of a liability. And if the fight does finish, that's kind of more how I see it. It would be something on the ground. But like Tim is mentioning, can we really rely on John Silva to grapple? I mean, I was looking through his tape. I saw like 2 takedown attempts. And on one of them, as soon as somebody showed any sort of semblance of a guard, he just stood back up and went back to striking. So his instincts are definitely not to try and stand there and play in the guard and try and pass and yada, yada. He definitely wants to go out there and strike. The guy's clearly a madman. Anybody who looks at him for 10 seconds can tell he's a crazy dude who loves to fight. But yeah, I think to me, it's kind of hard for me to understand the math behind getting to a John Silva bet here, like laying this chalk, thinking that it should be wider. I could kind of understand somebody saying, no, this is accurate. He's definitely going to grapple and he's going to have his way. But to say that this line should be even wider than it is now, I don't know. So I don't think it's an easy click by any means. Definite B side. But yeah, to me, if you're going to bet this, it's Melsik and it's the overs. It's rooting for John Silva to strike and rooting for a tepid paced decision.
You would just think that like him watching, like I said, there's not much data of John grappling like proficiently anywhere, regional tape, anything. But you would think that he would watch Melsik's tape and would just be like, this guy's a fish on the ground. I'm going to take him down. And then you look at like videos of him training. It's like 1, 2, fake, double leg, like he's going to try to grapple here. Like if he's losing on the feet, he's not an idiot. He's not going to stand there and laugh in the guy's face. Like he's going to get ahead and he's going to grapple. I'm confident of it.
See, we're talking about John's sick takedowns. I mean, he has a quick shot. I mean, his shot is quick, but I just didn't see him really commit to anything on the ground. Like I said, I saw when someone tried to turn face up and play guard, he just wanted to stand back up and go to striking. So, let's see. Yeah, I do kind of like GTD here, Pepe. I think it's hard for me to imagine that the John Silva ITD should be any wider than it is now, but I think there's plenty of room for it to be wrong. And really it should be closer to pick'em or plus 150 rather than minus 185. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised to see this over price. Yeah, I think that's decent. All right. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add on this, I'm going to take it over to John Matsumoto versus Rob Font. Tim, do you think anything about this one?
Yeah, I lean John for a lot of the like, squarish metrics, I guess I would call it, younger and less chin problems and momentum and all that kind of stuff. I don't think Rob Font's an easy fight at all, considering if he keeps it striking only. Rob's got, that great jab, and John's, he can be hit himself and he's got a reach disadvantage or whatnot. But I was making relative jokes about it earlier. I don't have tilt equity to play Rob Font at this short line. If he is winning and gets hurt, I'm upset. I do think that him fighting at 140 is probably better for his durability, and he probably won't give up so many moments to being wobbled randomly after landing like 60 significant strikes. But I like John for all the reasons. It's going to be a competitive striking match, and I'm going to lean towards the younger guy. And it seems like the UFC wants him in this spot because they pulled him out of an upcoming fight, and I think that they'd rather, try to use Rob Font to get some of these younger guys that they want to improve in the division and whatnot, instead of have him just exist in the rankings and soak up Apex main card fights. So I lean John. I didn't get to any major price yet, or bet it but I probably might bet it after this is over and whatnot. But I do lean him.
Nice. I think that's a really good point about the UFC pretty clearly wants Matsumoto here. Pirate, what are you thinking?
Sorry, you guys are cutting in and out. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought I was gonna like the Jean side at minus 140-ish. That's where I was looking at during the week, but I just watch all of his fights, and he's a great striker, and I feel like he's going to be ahead in this fight, but he's never dealt with a guy like Rob Font, and Rob Font has a great jab, long reach, and he'll pressure him. And I just feel like there's not a lot of value for me betting on Jean for him to win a 29-28. Like, he's going to get touched up in this fight. I don't think he's going to grapple. I think the only thing that separates these guys is Jean's leg kicks and body kicks. I don't see much else. Like, I just can't get to the price. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, leg kicks for me. Oh, I'm gonna mute you, Pirate. You're some background noise there. But I mean, the leg kick should be the story of the fight, as far as I'm seeing it. Matsumoto should be able to just sit on the outside with his foot. I don't think he's going to gas out the way that Kyler Phillips did. I laid like minus 200 on Kyler Phillips last time out, and I really expected him to be able to dance on the outside, mix in some takedowns, and instead he death gassed really quickly. But to me, I don't want to forget why I bet him there, and a big part of that is because the durability of Rob Font is rapidly deteriorating. Like, even in the fights where he's having success, like the Yanez fight, he took one big right hand in that fight, his whole orbital swells up. He's just not really absorbing damage the same way he used to. A notoriously super durable guy. I don't think he's completely undurable, but he's definitely not the same level of durability that he used to have. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking John Matsumoto is going to be able to get his calf kick going. Rob Font probably starts showing some of that damage, has to switch stances. But if I'm wrong, it's going to be Rob Font on the front foot getting that jab off. And Matsumoto has been kind of touched up with jabs at times, and it's certainly a step up in competition in terms of the striking. We haven't seen him strike with somebody at this level before, and so I'm not dying to take another one of these prospects against Rob Font, but I do expect him to win. I do want to go with the younger A side, like Tim mentioned. Okay, moving on. Brendan Allen versus Fluffy Hernandez. Man, I love Fluffy. Such a great fighter to watch. Tim, what are you thinking about this one?
I have a position on over 2.5 goes a distance, and I took some Brendan Allen money line. I think the line is incredibly wide. I know that it was a rematch from when they first fought, and I know that there's a cardio dynamic there, but I don't think Fluffy covers. I mean, he does, but I don't think that Allen should be counted out this much. He's notoriously pretty profitable as an underdog when he is, and he covers his big price tags when he is one, except for against Chris Curtis, who's probably a nightmare matchup for him to fight. He was a smaller underdog against Imavov in France. I don't think his cardio is as bad as a lot of people are mentioning. He looked horrible in round 5 against Chris Curtis, but that was a high striking match, high pace striking match. He shot lots of takedowns. There was lots of scrambles and whatnot. And even in fights with like Jacob Malkoun and what's his face, Kyle Dawkins, the third rounds look a little off, but he was still able to do enough in rounds 1 and 2 to get the judges' scorecards on his side. I think that this is the first time in Fluffy's fighting someone since Kevin Holland, and even including Kevin Holland, that's not, that doesn't like. Hold on, let me center myself. This is the first time in a while that Fluffy is fighting someone that's not a gassy bum that hates being grappled, including Kevin Holland, which he lost in round 1. He'd probably be lying to minus 700 in a rematch, though. Vieira pulled a stunt and gassed out quicker than ever and was controlling the entire first round. It wasn't like Fluffy's pace was getting to him. He just, part of it was, but I don't rate the win over Josh Fremd, where he was able to reverse and have success. I don't rate the win over Marc-Andre Barriault, which was replicated by Dustin Stoltzfus before he put him out. Edmund Shabazian has lost to every person in the world that's decided to take him down. Roman Kopylov is trash and overrated and gasses. Michelle Pereira is a welterweight that gasses. So I don't think that you could be playing minus 300 here, minus 340 or whatever it is, against someone with, I think, has really good sweeps. Like he swept Malkoun twice. He swept Jotko and subbed him. He subbed Andre Muniz on reversals with his judo. I think any of them have improved more since they first fought, it's Brendan Allen, and he has experience with bouncing back in rematches. He got knocked out by Curtis, came back and still almost lost, but he didn't get knocked out, so that's an improvement and whatnot. So, and I think he's got a really good rear naked choke. And Fluffy gives up bad positions all the time. So I'm sure that at some point you might be able to find a better Fluffy line live if it's easier for you to get down. But I think Brendan Allen pre at this price is a little wide, considering that I think that he could find his back at. I think if he finds his back somewhere within the first 13 minutes of the fight, I think a rear naked choke is on the table. And I don't rate either guy. I don't think any guy is better or worse offensively striking than the other. I think it would be close if they. It would be close if they were kickboxing for 15 minutes. But I do respect that Fluffy is someone that will bite down at his mouthpiece, come forward, and throw takedowns his entire time. So if I was to bet either Fluffy side, I'd probably bet Fluffy decision and whatnot. Dude, Kopylov is trash.
I'm loving Tim's rants today. Pirate, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Tim. The price is a bit wide. I mean, I think Brendan Allen is going to compete early. I think he's going to have some striking success, to be honest. A lot of the stuff in Fluffy's fights, he's just the way he moves and stuff. He's great when he's coming forward, but when he's getting put walking backwards, he's not that good. I'm trying to think. The Iron Turtle fight, a few others. Anyways, yeah, if I was to get in on anything or targeting anything, it would have to be a Fluffy, maybe like on Fluffy, it would have to be like a Fluffy live bet or something, because I just don't see how he's going to cover this price over 3 rounds. Like Brendan Allen is, as much as I don't like the guy, he's competent. He's a good grappler, decent wrestler, nice shots, maybe not the best cardio wise in my opinion, but I still think rounds 1 and 2, like if he gets on top first round, then second round comes, or say he's getting paced, or he gets one more takedown, he gets another top time, like this is not a minus 350 Fluffy spot. And I couldn't get to Fluffy in any parlays. As far as the over, I told Tim, it's like if I'm targeting an over, it's not usually in like these grapple heavy fights. I don't like doing that. I think, like you said, the sub is live for both guys. Brendan Allen does have a great rear naked choke, good, decent. He's good on the back, and Fluffy is obviously elite. He has elite chokes all around. So yeah, I don't know. I maybe a Fluffy live bet, but yeah, I'm man. If this price gets to like plus 300, I'll have no choice but to bet on Brendan Allen.
I'd like to say one thing real quick. I'm more confident in overs than I am in Brendan Allen.
Of course. Yeah, you've been very high on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what a lot of what you guys are both saying. I think Fluffy's gonna finish the job that Malkoon started. I had Malkoon decision at a big price there, and I that was a tough loss. But I think he's gonna get it done. He's gonna win a decision here. He's gonna, like Pepe mentioned, Allen's not really a great positional grappler. Ends up on bottom frequently. Fluffy was able to get him on bottom for most of their first fight. Um, if there's anything I can say about Brendan Allen, I think he probably has the best jiu-jitsu in the division, in my opinion. Like, I really think he does. Like, pure jiu-jitsu, I think he's got the absolute top notch. But I think Fluffy might be the best middleweight on the planet right now. And the way that I'm choosing to attack this fight is, if you look on FanDuel, you can get fight to start round 2 and Fluffy to win -175. You can get fight to start round 3 and Fluffy to win -125. And to me, it's almost like a live bet. I mean, think about if we get through round 1 and Fluffy wins round 1, what's the live price? It's going to be massive chalk, right? And I'll be sitting there with the -175 ticket. If Brendan Allen wins the round 1 and it's close, it still might not be hold much worse price than -175 on Brendan Allen. He's still probably, I mean, on Fluffy, he's still going to be a favorite going into round 2, most likely if he loses.
Yeah.
So to me, that makes a whole ton of sense, and I think Brendan Allen's got enough jiu-jitsu and survivability to tough it out, I mean, Fluffy took to round 5 to finish. What's his name? The Jack Brazilian.
The corpse of Michelle.
Yeah, exactly. Or I mean, Kopolov to me is just the biggest gas bag. Anybody who pressures him is going to get him to quit. So yeah, I think Brendan Allen's gonna be a bit tougher and have enough jiu-jitsu to not get rinsed with that guillotine series that Fluffy loves to run. But yeah, I think Fluffy wins a decision, and once Brendan Allen starts getting tired, I don't think anybody in the division, once they start getting tired, Fluffy's gonna pull away from you. So other than like maybe Drickus, I'm trying to think of who could even keep a pace with this guy. I
think Sean Strickland could.
Sean Strickland, Kyle Barat.
Although the way that Strickland was getting grappled in round 4 and 5 against Duplessis makes me kind of think that maybe if Fluffy gets into his game, it'll just be a rout. But definitely, yeah, Strickland on paper could probably keep that pace as well. All right, main event. I'll go first on this one. This is another bet of mine here. I'm on Song. Not a horribly different price than it is now, like -220. To me, Cejudo, he's going to have a really tough time. He's going to have a tough time here, just in the sense that on the striking, I think this is where my opinion differs from a lot of people. I don't think he can really hang out in the striking for long stretches of time. I think a lot of people are kind of expecting him to be able to get his calf kick going, get some of his counters going, use his footwork. I think he's going to have a really tough time. His path to me to beat Song Yadong, it has to be all around pace, wrestling, getting on top, landing ground and pound, the Cody Stamen route, where by round 3, his shoulders are pretty flat and not quite as scrambly. But if you look at him, in the more recent years, I mean, the pace that he kept over 5 rounds against Song Yadong, not Song Yadong, the pace that he kept against Ricky Simone, not that the pace itself was so insane, but just that he was clearly understanding his own output, and he understood how much he could push over 5 rounds and still be fresh enough in round 5 to sprawl and brawl and get a KO. And to me, whenever I've seen somebody really have grappling success against Song, there's really more than just pure wrestling at play. Like I think about Petr Yan getting grappling going. I mean, he really was getting his striking going too. He was starting to light Song up. He was starting to get Song with the high guard. He was starting to get Song thinking about a bunch of different attacks. And then he was mixing in some crafty takedowns and then throwing in hooks and riding as well. Even someone like Cody Stamen, throwing in the hooks, doing some nice jiu-jitsu transitions to try and ride him out. I don't really see that out of Henry. Henry more take you down, grab the classic wrestler's grip around your waist, try to hang on for dear life. I think Henry, Father Time finally caught up with him, and he's 38 years old at this weight class. So to me, his margin for winning here is so small, and he's got to fight nearly perfect for a really long time here. I think Song's going to be as dangerous as long as this fight is standing. And I do expect Cejudo to land some takedowns here. I just don't see him being able to do anything with it. I think Song's get-up game and his jiu-jitsu is really solid. He'll be able to get onto all fours, get an underhook. And once they're up against the fence, I think the physicality is going to be a big deal here. And I look at looking at the body of Cejudo back in his championship run versus now, he looks physically like a bit of a different guy. And then in the back of my head, I'm thinking, if I'm wrong here, who could Cejudo realistically fight up in the division? Like, I feel like the one way I could screw myself here is if Cejudo wins the fight and then gets matched up against Figueiredo, who's like the one guy in the division kind of ranked in that top tier, and I think he could maybe get another win against. But if you put him in there against Petr Yan, you put him in there against Sandhagen, you put him in there against Merab, he gets rinsed. I think you even put him in there against a Mario Bautista, he's getting rinsed. So I view this as kind of maybe the last chance to fade Cejudo on the way out. And I think Song, probably not a future champion, but certainly solidly a top 10 guy in the world right now. Pirate, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, once again, I just don't want to go repeating stuff, but I share a lot of the same thoughts. I have a decent 3 units on Song at -200, and I cap him around -300 here. I just think, like you said, it's a lot to ask for Henry. I don't give him, I almost give him like little to no finishing upside in this fight. He hasn't seen in his recent form, he's been fighting Merab and Aljo. Like, he hasn't seen a guy like Song, an explosive striker, and like you said, in my opinion, this is a levels fight on the feet. I don't think Henry is gonna have much success there. As far as what I'm be worried about here, maybe like Henry like gets looking real good in the first 3 rounds, and then he has to like stay alive, or he wins like a split decision. Like, that's what his path is to me. I just don't really see how he's going to win. Everything Song does is great. He's good takedown defense. It almost seems like a nightmare matchup for Cejudo at his current form. Maybe not a few years ago, but the regression is clear. And what's it called? Seems like to me like he's also just like most guys, but he's just here for a paycheck, man. He doesn't care. He has no aspirations. He's never going to be a champion. Yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Tim, what do you think?
I got none to add. I bet Song earlier I bet it like a month ago almost, when these lines were sitting around. I agree with what a lot of you guys say. I don't have anything new to add. It's a little bit of narrative stuff, but I'm not too sure that Henry's all the way motivated and whatnot. I think he just wants a main event spot too.
What do you
think
guys
this version of Henry?
If he's the same version that fought Aljo?
No, because that's a completely different stylistic matchup.
Yeah, in a sense, I agree with you. To me, the biggest difference is that on the feet, I feel like there's a lot more margin for error for Cejudo against someone like Aljo. I think his margin for error against Song is pretty small here. I think every time he gets hit, I think he's going to be showing big reactions. I know historically his chin is really good. He's got a big Mexican block head. It's hard to imagine him getting flatlined. But I mean, Merab teeing off on the guy at stretches, it looked like Aljo was kind of starting to tee off on him. And if there's ever any point in this fight where Henry looks a little bit lost in the wrestling and starts getting teed off on, I think it could be over. Song split. I don't know. I feel like if Song gets it done, I think he's going to look pretty dominant, but we'll see.
They're more willing to engage in grappling too.
What I will say, Pepe, is if I'm going to play, if you like Cejudo, I don't see a reason to play the money line. It's really hard for me to imagine him finishing Song, what that world would look like. Like I just essentially.
I was about to say the same thing.
If this was a power slap match, I'd have Song Yadong -7,000. Just because one guy can take the shots, other guy probably can't. One guy cracks, one guy's throwing little pitter patter shots. So that matters a lot to me in a striking fight, where one guy could just get nuked out of his shorts and the other guy, probably couldn't hurt him if he got a sucker punch clean. Hopefully Song can send this guy to the GFL. Yeah, he does seem like he's headed in the GFL direction. That's for sure. Doctor stoppage, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I won't say it's impossible. I mean, the guy, like maybe something kind of like the Moraes fight. I know Moraes is a gasser, but if he's able to maybe stack guard, and if he gets
he got his eyebrow cut against Corey Sandhagen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hardware wise, he's just such a beast, man.
Henry?
Song to me.
Song.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. I just don't think you can do like even like those fights to me, those Morales, Cruz, all those fights just have no. I know it sounds weird. They have no relevance to me here. He doesn't. It's not like he's his old self. He tries to be, but he's just not.
Sweet. All right, we cover the whole card. I linked the Twitters of both Pirate and Tim, and yeah,
Yep.
really appreciate every single one of you guys that's hanging out with us. These streams are really fun. If you guys don't mind, drop a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps out. And get to this last one. How do you feel about the over 4.5 in this fight, guys?
I think I like it. I don't really. I think Song is a little bit of an overrated finisher. He hasn't really finished someone that wasn't like all the way like not chinny in a while, and especially with the implied grappling pace that he should be getting. It'd probably slow him down a bunch. You know, like he was pretty low volume against Chris Gutierrez because of the leg kicks and whatnot, and had to go to his wrestling. And Ricky's offensive wrestling slowed him down a little bit to get over. No, I think it ended just under, but close enough. You know, and he didn't really. Same thing with Corey Sanhagen. Corey Sanhagen used a lot of offensive wrestling to like slow down Song and then open up with his hands and whatnot. And his last finishes are Marais and ours. So
We should give out a parlay.
Awesome.
Yeah, right here. They people are asking. Yeah, no, I think Bash, Song, good parlay pieces. What would you guys throw into a parlay this week?
Go ahead, Tim. I have mine.
You got yours? All right, say yours first, so we don't.
Yeah, Javid and Ricky over 2.5, minus 300.
I'm fucked.
It can be even money parlay. We're giving locks out here.
All right, I'll give out a lock. Modestus Bukauskas round 1. I'm kidding. I would go with. I'm trying to like find something that's like relatively plus EV and not square as shit. I like Brendan Allen and fluffy overs. I understand that it could go under in a plethora of ways, but it's something that I have money on, so I'll tip it out.
Oh, my bad. I'll give an actual one. Melsick and Silva over 1.5.
There you go. We got it. And Kyarix gave his sharp play as well. Abdul Malik. Don't sleep on that leg right there.
Minus 1,500. Let's go.
Appreciate you guys. All right.
All right.
Catch you guys later.
Talk to you later.